Hello and welcome to another episode of the Brody Moore podcast, or Liefx, as most of you know me as. Thank you guys for continuing to support the podcast. For those that are watching on Spotify, we're on Spotify, so you can check it out. Link will be below if you're watching on YouTube right now. A couple people decided to waste their money and subscribe to me, so thank you so much. I see you, and thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And for everyone watching on YouTube, thank you for continuing to engage in the comments, and let me know who you'd like to see on future episodes. I'd like to continue to get those suggestions, because sometimes I get some a bunch of you saying one name, and then we get those people on the show. And for the feedback as well, I'm continuing to see what this show is about and what it needs to transform into, and what you guys are enjoying the most about it. So continue with that feedback as well. It's all welcome down in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit the subscribe and like button. Let's get to our guest, though. Joining us now is John MacDonald, a.k.a. JohnnyBoi. What's up, JohnnyBoi?
Not a lot. It's good to be here. Thanks for the invite. I hope you're all not too disappointed that you're going to need to settle for me this week. I know you've been banging out like star guests every single week. So, yeah, a bit of a dip here in the quality, but we'll see what we can do.
Oh, we've been leading up to this. It's 1v1 extraordinaire, show match extraordinaire. RLCS caster, what is the greatest caster duo of all time? That's the title you guys get. I'm setting you up so
that's
much
just that's just what we tell everybody.
You tell everybody.
Me and Shogun tell everybody that, but it hasn't really caught on yet. We'll have to do more. We'll have to start advertising at LAN events. We're going to bring our own posters and stick them about the place, so people get to know us.
That is wonderful. I'm expecting Worlds just to be decked out. The hallway that people walk in when they first come in.
Yeah, the toilet, the bar. The Psionics office, like you're gonna see posters of Shogun and JohnnyBoi, just all over the place.
Actually, you know
trying to get our name out there.
That leads me that I bet you there's some sort of skits that can be done with the two of you. I've seen in other esports some commentators doing like those funny little skits before shows or whatever. I've seen it in CS:GO and stuff. There's got to be something for the two of
Shogun
you.
did one, didn't he? He did the This Is Rocket League one.
Yeah.
For Worlds last year, I think he did the. Yeah, he was just running up to people and yelling it and scaring them. So yeah, I don't really have a line, unfortunately. I can yell. So maybe just leave that on a Shogun.
There's the skit. It's you two workshopping a phrase that you could do together.
Oh yeah, that could be it actually. That could be it. But I'm not really one for scripting, so it wouldn't really fit the brand. I don't. Every time I script something, it just sounds ridiculous. So I try not to. But that's probably because I'm more of a live streamer, so I don't really do a lot of scripted recorded stuff that often. I do it sometimes, but I'm not very good at it.
It's the same for me. It's like even for podcasts like this, a lot of it's winging it. I've written some stuff down, and I got conversations, things I want to ask you, but it's like for the most part, it's so much more fun to let conversations kind of flow where they need to go. I've been trying to do that on the desk more. You guys are doing that on the EU pre-shows really well too, where it feels a lot more bantery because you guys are actually just.
It's just bullet points. Like it's less like like planned who's gonna speak, and just like trying to react more to what each other say rather than monologue, I guess, or take turns monologuing. It's better, we found, at least for us, to just say little tidbits and then have somebody react to it rather than say something and then explain it. That's kind of the theory that we've been working on.
Before we get to Rocket League stuff, because inevitably we're going to get to talking about that a lot, I wonder, what's your morning routine? Because I was thinking this morning, I have a certain things I have to do in the morning. Like I cannot start my day without a shower. I feel like something's wrong without doing that. And then afterwards, got to get either a tea or a coffee or something in me. Like, is there anything ritual that you have to do every single day, or you wing it?
Shower isn't necessarily a morning thing for me. It is most of the time for the first thing.
Are you one of the night showers? We talked about this actually with someone before.
Yeah, it just really depends, I feel, because right now it's so hot where I am that there's kind of no point in showering in the morning because I'm just going to sweat. Like I'm sweating right now. So if I showered, I would be sweating right now. And then if we decide to go out later, then I'd have to like shower again or change. So I usually just shower before going out is my timing during the summer at least. But yeah, during the winter or during the other months where it's not hot, because that's most of the time it's not hot in Scotland. Yeah, morning showers, definitely my preference. At live events, of course, yeah, morning showers for sure. That's what really wakes me up.
Yeah.
But Yeah, apart from that, just coffee, I guess. I look forward to coffee. I don't really depend on it. In fact, when I do feel tired, I avoid it because I don't want to wake up because of the coffee, then crash again. So I actually avoid coffee when I'm tired completely. So most of the time at events, if I'm drinking coffee, it's because I feel good. If I feel really tired, I'm not drinking coffee. I'm not drinking energy drinks. I'm just drinking water and maybe trying to sneak a nap in some point to wake
nap.
up. Yeah,
I cannot nap.
What? Yeah, you have to learn it to nap. I napped today actually because I was up today. The cleaner was coming over, so I had to let the cleaner in. That's what had me up at like I think I was up 10 o'clock in the morning, which is pretty early for me.
Yeah.
But I was up streaming last night till late, so that wasn't enough sleep. So I just took a 30-minute nap in the afternoon. Now I feel a lot better. If I feel, if I want another one later, I might. It's 20, 30 minutes. I think it's a life skill. You got to practice it. You got to just. I mean, if you're tired enough, I feel like anyone can do it. Surely.
Part of the problem was that for the most part I wear contacts. Right. I've been wearing glasses a bit more lately. So that's a little bit easier because then I could just take them off, lay down. But with contacts, it's a process, man. I gotta like commit. Like, okay, I'm napping now. I can't just like fall asleep on the couch or something.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. I've never thought about that. I've never had an eye test actually. I can't. Maybe I'm just blind and I don't know.
Could you see everything?
But no, I feel like I could see pretty well, so I've never had an eye test. But
I feel like that's something
I didn't think about the contacts. That's a good point. But yeah, napping is super important. I can't sleep on like planes. I can't sleep in a sitting position, but I can nap like in a bed or lying down pretty much anywhere. Outside, if I can lie down in a plane, I can fall asleep. But yeah, so napping is huge for like especially live events or just having the energy to go out after doing a LAN event. Because I don't like to just sit around in my hotel room all night. I want to make the most of it. So I'll sometimes just go for a quick nap and then head back out again. Feel terrible for a couple seconds, couple minutes probably, but you get past it.
Yeah, the plane thing's brutal because especially going to like I know Worlds is going to be brutal for me because like it's all overnight stuff. So I always just miss an entire night's sleep when I end up traveling to Europe.
Yeah.
Because I can't sleep on planes at all.
It's actually something Rizzo told me recently that the East Coast to Europe, so East Coast America or East Coast Canada to Europe flights are kind of a nightmare because they're just too short to get a proper sleep. Even if you can sleep on a plane, the flight is usually only like 6.5, 7 hours, maybe a bit more. But between like the takeoff, lights on to get like the drinks out and stuff or whatever they're serving, and then the landing, breakfast, whatever they decide to do, you only got like maybe 5 or 6 hours, so you can't get a proper night's sleep anyway, even if you are able to sleep on a plane. Whereas if you're on a longer flight, then okay, now there's a better chance you've got a good window in there to actually sleep. For me though, not happening unless I can lie down. Unless I get a completely empty row or I luck out on business class because the company buying my flight couldn't get an economy ticket because they're sold out. Then I'm not sleeping.
Never been that lucky. I've never been able to sleep in one of those like beds on the plane. I've never had that opportunity because the flight is like let me know in comments too. Would you pay like $500 for a 7-hour flight for that bed? I wouldn't.
500 for 7 hours. That's a tricky one because like I said, you're not going to get like a proper night's sleep. But if it was like an 11-hour or like a 12-hour flight or even longer, like 13, 14, it starts to get a little bit more interesting, the prospect of spending $500. But it's not something that people really rational or people think to do on a holiday, on a vacation. But if you're doing a live event, a LAN event as an esports caster, you're usually getting paid like a certain amount to do that event. And if you can use some of that money to cover the cost of a business flight, call it put it down as a business expense on your taxes. Okay, now it starts to sound a little bit more reasonable. If you can increase your productivity at the event, increase your productivity after the event because you actually managed to sleep, then okay, you could justify it, I think, for $500. But yeah, it's rarely $500. That's lucky. That's low. That's like a great deal. It's usually like $1,000 minimum, maybe $2,000.
If
you're buying it at the gate.
No, and again, tell us in the comments, but I can't. 14 hours, maybe I justify it, but beyond that, no. I just come in, expect me at those events for the first couple of days to be very tired. Also, just going forward, like the time change, it's so much easier to go backwards.
It is, yeah. Well, it's easier to fly to the west if you're trying to avoid the tiredness combining with jet lag, because all you have to do to be in the right time zone when you arrive is don't sleep, basically. So whenever I've flown from Europe to America, I don't sleep on the plane. I make a point not to, even if I'm tired, because I want to be tired when I arrive, because it's usually nighttime, and you want to be sleeping at nighttime. But if you fall asleep on the plane for a few hours, you arrive at nighttime, you're not tired, you're up all night, then you sleep all day. You're like, what have I done? Now I'm on the wrong schedule, and you need to, really work hard to fix it. That's why it's harder to go back to or to fly to Europe, because you want to be tired when you aren't tired. You're leaving at 5, 6 p.m. or like sometimes an afternoon flight, and they turn the lights off to go through the night. You're like, but I'm not tired yet. It's only 6 p.m. where I cover. What's going on? Well, I can't sleep just on demand. So much harder, coming to Europe. And yeah, I feel bad for the American teams, American casters coming to events. I always say it, jet lag's a factor, but it's only the fans of the team who lost who want to admit that.
Well, it's good that the teams at least get out there usually pretty early to adjust to that, but even then it's
not the casters always fly out one day before. All right, go. Go rehearsal day. Right, go show day.
And you're right.
What do you mean you're tired? There's usually casters sleeping in the green room, like multiple, just passing out on a couch. I don't blame them.
Yep.
That's tough. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could sleep in a green room. Unless I was really tired. Then maybe.
No,
maybe.
The only way I'm doing that is if I pass out without will, like I'm just so dead tired that I just fall asleep.
Yeah, you just pass out, proper pass out mode. Yeah,
not doing it. Yeah, that's when the coffee thing is like hard for me, because I find that if I drink coffee when I'm too tired and out of it, I tunnel vision really hard to the point that I almost get lightheaded sometimes and forget what I'm talking about, and then I get panic and it gets brutal. That's when I can't do it because it spikes too much. Have you ever had this panic moment on camera?
Panic moment on camera? Not really. No. Probably the most nervous I was on camera ever. And probably one of the only moments I can remember being nervous, because I was always quite good at getting up in front of the class in school and doing a presentation. Same thing at university. I was confident at that. So, doing something that I'm very familiar with, commentating a video game, same as I've done on my stream thousands of times. Yeah, not that challenging. But the one time that I did feel like, okay, this could go wrong and I might mess this up, was doing the interviews at RLCS Season 8 on the stage. Because that was pretty new to me. There was a camera, people. I'm interviewing people who are not comfortable being interviewed most of the time. So they were being very strict with telling me where to stand. They're saying, put your right foot there, put your left foot there. I'm like, why are they doing that? This doesn't even feel natural.
This was
Season 8. Yeah, that production team for some reason wanted to be very, very precise with where I stood to interview players, and sometimes players' parents, other coaches, etc. And also where the player would stand. So the player would be just getting comfortable, getting ready for the interview. They'd be like, "Oh, sorry, could you turn a little bit this way?" They'd move him the smallest amount. I'm thinking, why are you doing that? You're just making the player so uncomfortable and so conscious of the camera after we're trying to do the opposite in the build up by having a casual conversation. So I was pretty nervous there, because I was like, I don't trust that they're going to make this work. And yeah, some of the throws were absolute nonsense as well. I'm supposed to be able to hear, or anyone on a stage, as you know, is supposed to be able to hear the desk talking, or the host talking, whoever's throwing to them. It just kept on going off, so I would not know what. I think you would actually have been throwing to me. I didn't know what you said half the time. They would just say thumbs up.
You couldn't hear it.
Yeah, I could hear it. Kept going off. So I just knew that they're going to throw to me for an interview at some point. But I don't know when, and I don't know what you're going to say. So they would just put their thumbs up when they want me to start talking. A couple of times I think you asked me a question or said something that would, not, it wouldn't make sense for me to ignore. And I just said, I'm standing here with so-and-so. And then all the chat's just why is Johnny ignoring? It's because I couldn't hear couldn't hear this. So I was really nervous for the first interview there, shaky a little bit. But after that one, it was fine. But yeah, that was ridiculous. It was so cold. The production team were making it so awkward. They had a moving camera. I'm like, for goodness sake, move the camera. Don't ask me to move. Don't ask the player to move. Move the camera. The camera can move. Why is the cameraman standing still? Get him to move.
Yeah, so interview stuff was the first time I did. It was season 5. There's something about that just being on the stage by yourself is nerve wracking. It's because as you said,
you just feel very exposed.
You have no one to rely on either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you just feel okay, I am very much visible from all angles here. This is very Like, what if something silly happens? What if I trip on something everybody could see? So yeah, sorry. I wasn't as you were very like in an arena for season 5, literally surrounded by people. Season 8 was just a stage, so it wasn't quite that level of exposure. And also, I wasn't on the mainstream. Or no, I wasn't on the mainstream, but I wasn't in the building until day 3 or something, or day 2. I can't remember. Day 1, they like because it's some Spanish law, you couldn't have English be broadcasted to the venue, English language.
Right, yeah.
But after, I think the audience kept complaining that they couldn't hear. They could see that I'm interviewing somebody when they wanted to hear it because there's nothing else happening. They just decided, we're just going to,
screw it,
I guess, ignore that law and play the audio. They also, by the way, I was speaking about how, things kept going wrong with that production. They didn't tell me that was going to happen. So I spoke into the microphone one time and I just heard it booming through the PA system. Like, I didn't know that was supposed to happen. So I was thinking, that's pretty funny. They've accidentally put the audio on. So I did the whole interview with the audio on. I was like, well, yeah, they probably didn't want to turn it off halfway through, but clearly a mistake. And they told me after, oh no, that was intentional. I was
They
like,
just didn't tell you that was going to happen. Yeah.
why would you not tell me that? That is ridiculous in my opinion, to just not tell the interviewer, oh, by the way, your mic's going to be hot to the venue this time. So you can, leave pauses for the crowd to interact. Yeah, just didn't tell me. So
that was it.
I was set up for failure there. I think I did okay. I wasn't happy with how I did, but I thought it was fine. It was
in
right.
general, yeah, there were quite a few things. Like I would be, someone would finish their sentence on the desk, and it's coming back to me. I'm already thinking of my next question, right? Because in my head, okay, we got to keep filling a bit longer. And as they're handing it off to me, I'm getting told in my ear, all right, now throw. And I'm like, I can't. I'm already about to start a sentence. So I'm like, I would just have to. I'm like, well, I'm gonna ask another question and then we'll throw after that. But you gotta give me.
And
some
the crowd as well at season 5 was so hilarious. They just kept on trying. They were just like, yeah, we don't care about your questions. We don't care about the answers. So we just want to yell some silly chant we came up with. Before coming into the venue today, and you're just trying to figure out what on earth are they saying. These thick accent English people, what are they actually saying right now? I don't know. I don't understand. But yeah, it made some really good content. I think that was part of what made the event so special. Even looking back, I'm like, this is really hard to replicate in Rocket League now because the crowd was at the right. It was the right size, and the esports at the right size for that interaction to take place, and not just be completely drowned out by the overall volume or completely ignored by a stage host who doesn't get it. It was perfect.
Speaking of looking back, I'm curious because we hang out a lot in the green room all the time, but I don't a lot of times hang out with some of the group outside of it. So I've never really known, and maybe you've talked about this before, but I haven't seen it. Way back, what was JohnnyBoi before like RL and all this? Because your kind of trajectory took off after the spinning ball, I believe, right? Like,
that's right. Yeah, the spinning ball stream.
Yeah.
Well, I was so I was a structural engineering student. I graduated 2014, I'm gonna say, or something like that. And then I was so bored of studying at that point because I'd done high school, done university. I was so bored of studying that I worked with my dad, who's a builder, for I think 18 months or so. I just worked with him. He was building. He had a couple of projects at the time, pretty much just building houses from scratch. And I was like, I'd rather do that than go study again, or learn how to do a job. So I was like, that sounds way more fun, because I used to do it as a part-time job when I was growing up. So I was like, yeah, that was fun. And now I'm bigger, older. I want to give it another go. So yeah, did that for 18 months. Learned how to drive a 15-ton machine called a roto telehandler, which you'll have to Google it. It's my best description would be if a forklift and a crane had a baby. I was driving one of them about building sites, building houses. Then after I think 18 months, like I said, I went back to job hunt, essentially, where I am now in Glasgow, Scotland. And yeah, that just never panned out. I ended up streaming as a hobby, and it just took off. Yeah, are you looking this up?
What's it called again?
Let me just put it in chat. I'll see. I could probably send you a link.
Right. I could pull it up.
It's a
bit
of a weird spelling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if this was like some sort of weird Scottish name for something else that we have.
Roto means rotation, so it's a telehandler, a telescopic handler that also rotates. So it basically moves stuff around, is what it does. Yeah, I used to drive one of them, which was pretty fun. I passed a test to be able to drive one. It was like a 2-hour test that you had you had 2 hours to pass a bunch. You had to do a bunch of different things with this. I think I took 45 minutes, it was pretty good. in this kind of test, to pass the test for one of these, you're not allowed to do anything wrong or anything like severely wrong.
Of course,
you're allowed to make, I think, up to like 3 or 4, I forget what it is, like small mistakes, minors, and then
because you could drop heavy stuff on people, right?
Oh, if you drop anything heavy, you fail. Yeah, that's a fail completely. But like a minor would be, accidentally leaving that, like you can see the boom arm extends there, the arm that picks stuff up, it can extend and retract. You're supposed to retract it all the way, for example, before you start driving somewhere. If you leave it a little bit out before and you'd forget to retract it all the way, that would be a minor thing that you've got wrong, because you're accidentally protruding it further than it should, but not enough to be, life-threatening perhaps. So yeah, small things like that. I think I made a couple of small mistakes. Like one time, I think one of them was like I tried to reverse and I just had it in the wrong gear, and it drove forward like a tiny bit, and then I reversed. So that was a minor, but it wasn't like anything too crazy. But yeah, too many of those and you fail as well. It was pretty strict.
I was gonna say that's a minor until someone standing in front of you and impale them with those forks on the front.
Yeah. That basically I did, within a window of like safety, I was in there, but yeah, I did do something by mistake. Something happened that I didn't mean to have happen, so that's a minor.
All right.
But yeah, I passed overall with I think two very small mistakes that weren't big enough to be of any significance, really.
We're gonna rent a few of these out, and then we're gonna do a Rocket League match, a 2v2 Rocket League match with a catch.
Yeah, I'll be the goalkeeper with one of these things.
Just swing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Actually, I'm looking at these brands in the picture I sent you. Yeah, I could drive all the red ones, the green ones. Not sure about that yellow JCB. I've never seen the controls of that, but I could probably, like, all the red ones and the green ones. I know how to drive them. Don't know about JCB though.
This one's got
never seen the interior.
You could lift people up on this one too. Oh my god.
Yeah. There's a basket you can lift people up.
Can you like 360 it? It's like make it a carnival ride.
No, unfortunately, you can't do it. Well, actually, you could, but that would absolutely, be completely against regulation. Yeah, you could probably do that. I think it would probably fall off. I don't think it's built to be able to.
True.
It just kind of hangs in place, so it would fall. People would die. There's a lot of safety procedures in place, and like certain things you can't actually do. Like you try, it'll just you try and do something, the machine will basically tell you, no, you can't do that. We're about to fall over. So
gotcha.
Sure. Like it'll just know what its balancing point is, so it doesn't let you. But even as an operator, even though those safety measures are in place, you're not allowed to get it wrong anyway.
Yeah.
You have to still like stay within the realms of like what is safe, even though the machine is also stopping you from doing anything catastrophic.
I mean, imagine a lot of those rules come from something happening, right? It's like, okay, we got to pull this back super strict. Did you enjoy it?
That's what I did. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I actually would have kept going. I would have kept doing it, except recent graduate status in the UK. I'm not sure if it's the same in Canada, but recent graduate status is 2 years. So 18 months after I graduated was how long I did this. And then I went back to the city to job hunt as a recent graduate, because I graduated at that point 18 months ago. So I had 6-month window basically to find a job as a recent graduate. If you don't do that, then you're no longer a recent graduate. You'll have to look for just a full-on job, not a graduate position, which is a lot harder. But yeah, in the process of doing that, I was streaming for fun. It kind of took off pretty quickly. I think I started streaming in November, and by February, you mentioned it, the spinning ball stream happened. By March, I think I had, maybe it was March or April, I started to get 1v1 streams going. I was like, this is actually pretty fun. So I started towards the end of that, April, May kind of period. I was like, there's no need for me to, continue this job hunt.
Right.
I'll just give this a go full time. Got partnered on Twitch in July, I think, which back then was like quite difficult to do. You needed to average 500 concurrent viewers for 3 months in a row.
I cheated. Cloud Fuel
with no raids. You guys cheated. You just got. Yeah, I did it legit. It was hard. I was really happy that I got that, because that was difficult back then. And then I think right after that, Twitch Prime happened, so that blew up like Twitch even more.
That's true.
Within a year of starting, I was already like very comfortably full time with Twitch, YouTube, just those two. That's what I was up to.
So is this something like, say everything just the esports dies? Is this what you would go back to then afterwards, or would you stick to streaming? Like what would be the after?
If esports died, I mean, if all of esports died, I guess I would probably keep streaming something. But I've always enjoyed streaming. Twitch over the years. It has been a good source of revenue for me, but it's much smaller than casting and much smaller than YouTube. YouTube's a really big one for everybody. who does it for especially long term. So yeah, it's even though YouTube makes way more money than Twitch, I've always kind of prioritized Twitch because the live element is really what motivates me. I do not like scripting things. I don't like recording. I don't like editing. I like just going live and improvising and trying to just make cool content on the fly. So that's what I do, and it does kind of work as YouTube content as well, and it works as casting practice. So it's kind of killing three birds with one stone. But yeah, Twitch is. I could see myself still doing it. Maybe I'd have to just play games, I suppose, and I'm terrible at that. So I don't think anyone would watch.
What did you like? Were you huge into gaming before? Like, obviously, you had your foot in the world, right? Like you were were you a gamer most of your life, or?
Yeah, like, PlayStation 2 was the first console me and my brothers actually owned. Before that, we would just go to our friends' houses and maybe play, like, PlayStation 1 or Nintendo 64 or something. But we never had any of them. We just had a PS2 as our first console. And then I think we had, it must have been a PS3 after that. And then from PlayStation 3, I started playing PC games. But I was always like a one-game person. I don't really play multiple games. Never have. So the game that I started playing on PC was World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade. And then once I played World of Warcraft until Wrath of the Lich King was maybe like 2/3 of the way through, maybe almost finished. And that's when StarCraft 2 came out. I started playing that. Then I went from that to, I think, Hearthstone. And I think I went from that to Rocket League. Not really not that many games. Oh, no, I did play Heroes of the Storm for like 6 months or something as well.
Generally,
I was in the Blizzard games for a while. Then I just switched up to Rocket League. No idea why.
Generally, competitive stuff though. It seems.
Yeah, it was always competitive. Always like doing ranked in ranked in some capacity. That was always what I was interested in these games. Didn't really care about anything if it wasn't competitive. And yeah, the StarCraft 2 years especially, those were brutal because I'd never played an RTS before.
Yeah.
And I got placed into bronze. I was terrible. I was like watching people play. I'm like, how on earth do they take an expansion? That's so hard. And then I'm looking back, I'm like, no, it's not. You just have to grab one of your workers, build a base. What was I thinking? I was afraid to move my screen. But yeah, I went from bronze up to master in that. Played. Oh no, I think I played League of Legends after StarCraft 2 actually. Got to Diamond 1 in League. Then I would have switched to Hearthstone and Heroes of Storm after that. I think I was probably around about as good at Heroes of the Storm as I am Rocket League percentage-wise.
Okay.
Like, that was a lot faster, though. I think it's the first time I played a game and I was actually pretty good pretty quick.
Yeah.
Didn't happen like that for StarCraft 2 or League of Legends or Rocket League. I was shocking. Bronze, absolute base, iron, cardboard division in all those games. So I was the opposite of a natural anytime I switched genre.
Do you just play Rocket League now, or do you have other games you play?
Recently, I've just played Rocket League. I mean, I've just moved into this apartment I'm in now, 3 weeks ago, and I think I've only played Rocket League and a couple of games of StarCraft 2. Me and Yummy Cheese Man have been playing StarCraft 2 on the Americas server because we can both kind of connect to America from opposite sides of the world and have a playable gaming experience. But yeah, no new games. I think the newest, or the only new-ish, they're not even new anymore, games in the past like year or two I would have tried and played for an extended period of time would have been Valheim and V Rising. I thought they were both really good games, but I've not played them in a while either. So I don't know, maybe I'll go back to it at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious outside of it, because I know you're a bit more of like a social person too. Like you like to be around people and stuff. So I wonder if that takes away from the gaming time that you might get if you're out and about rather than at your PC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it does, but I don't really think about it. Like when I'm, when I'm out with friends or when I'm, traveling. I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling this summer, for example. I won't be thinking about games at all when I'm doing that. When I go to live Rocket League events as well, a lot of people, and this isn't like I'm not criticizing or making fun of this at all, but a lot of people will tell you when you're at a live Rocket League event, oh, I just want to play Rocket League. They're like watching Pro Rocket League just makes you want to play. I've never thought this ever. You're one of them.
I just don't know what it is. The second I get home, I'm playing. I just have to.
Everybody, I think most people at Rocket League events would tell you the same thing. I think you're probably in the majority here, but me, I'm not thinking about that at all. I don't want to play Rocket League. I just want to socialize, like you said, and meet people. Go out for dinner. Just catch up with old friends. That's like my priority of these events. And that, I think, is also the case in my life as well. Although I do, still make time for games because it's fun and it's a good like de-stress thing to do, to kind of just take a break from thinking about content, thinking about casting, thinking about the next show match or whatever, just play a game, just turn off your brain a little bit. It's good to do. But yeah, so socializing, especially at live events, it's always what I want to do. It's just the first thing that I want to do. And Rocket League is like not even playing any game, not just Rocket League, playing any game at all is like not even any part of my brain. It's I do not want to, like, don't think about it.
Mine is more like when I get home, I got the itch. I'm like, I really, because some people are like, oh, how are you not burnt out after a week of this? I'm like, I've seen everything over the weekend, and like I still enjoy the game of Rocket League. So it's like being away from it for a week. But yeah, when I'm at the event, I agree with you totally. Is like part of the fun of it is seeing fans and talking to people, going out afterwards and discussing stuff.
Yeah, usually seeing a new city, you don't get a lot of time to do that at these events because you're working all the time. So if you can get, an evening off or, a day off to just go and actually explore this place you've flown like a long way to get to, and maybe we'll never come back to. Yeah, it's fun to go and explore and actually see what the city is outside of the warehouse that you're in, outside of the studio you're in.
One of my
as well
favorite things to do, I've talked about this with someone before. One of my favorite things to do in a new city is I like to go out at least one night by myself and wander the streets at nighttime. That might not be a smart idea in some places, but I just, there's something that special about throwing on your favorite music and just being alone, wandering a place you don't know. There's something zen, in my opinion, about that. You ever done that, or is that?
Well, you're just kind of exploring. I guess you're turning your life into a video game. You're like, let me go and discover this like street or whatever.
Is there a loot box over here? Nope, that's.
I've not really done that. I do like to. I find myself making plans a lot. I'm one of the people at these events that will usually be roping others into doing like things like dinners or going out to a bar or going to hang out somewhere. I always like. I think it just I'm not always like that in life in general, but at these events, at Rocket League events especially. There's a distinct lack of people with any idea what they actually want to do with their spare time. So I find myself like, coming up with plans like, okay, let's do this. Let's go I found this restaurant. It's got good reviews. Let's go there. And I'll be making bookings and stuff. So yeah, I don't think I've gone out just wandering without a plan because I think I'm just always making plans. But as long as you're like checking where you're going isn't, we're not going to go wander into a favela in Rio de Janeiro when we finally get a land in Brazil.
Where's Liefx?
I think it should be fine.
This is great. No, to me, part of I really like, because it's something I do in my own city as well. It's like, there's parts of this city I haven't seen as well. And sometimes just wander around and be like, wow, like I was wandering a couple weeks ago and even realized there was like this small Irish pub that was just off somewhere that's not like that. It's like off from downtown, and I'm like, what is this doing over here? And I wouldn't have known that if I was not just like aimlessly wandering, right? I like to find stuff that way, because sometimes in my opinion, sometimes at least locally, places feel a little more special when you do it. It's like, oh, I found this, in my opinion, it's like Google didn't tell me to go here. I'm like, I found this. Maybe it sucks, maybe it doesn't suck, but that's an experience for me to find. And that newness of not knowing what's coming next is, I guess, what entices me a lot of the times.
I could see that. I like walking like places, so maybe I've got an idea of where we're going, but yeah, walking like to go there rather than just getting in a car or getting in a taxi. Yeah, usually my preference. So yeah, I could see where you're coming from there. Definitely.
All right, we'll have in Dusseldorf, we'll have one night where I'm the leader and we just walk around, another night where you're the leader and you plan it out.
We'll go out in the Dorf. We'll go out somewhere in the Dorf. We'll see where we end up. Yeah, it's a Dorf. Everybody's calling it the Dorf. I don't mind it.
Who called it? Someone called it Dumbledore.
Oh yeah, that must have been an autocorrect. Surely, I can't remember who it was. Somebody wrote Dumbledore. I think it was Corelli actually tried to write Dusseldorf in a group chat, and it just got autocorrected to Dumbledore. I don't know if he went back and fixed it, but I thought it was quite funny.
Head note to Dumbledore. Let's go. Let's bring it to the casters, because we talk on this podcast, because we've had a lot of casters on here. We talk a lot about our just dynamic as casters too, and I feel like we have one of the best casting groups in all of esports. Obviously, I'm going to say that we're biased to it because we're in it, but it does feel a little different, than it's not like CS:GO where it's like extremely competitive and cutthroat. And what do you think leads to that dynamic yourself? What's your
Well, I don't really know. I feel like I don't really know too much about how other esports operate,
Fair.
because I don't watch any of them consistently enough to really understand
Mm-hmm.
like what is going on. So yeah, what you're talking about there is something I hear a lot. You know, that other casting groups or other games will have casters that are at each other's throats, or you know, casting teams that are very competitive with each other. And you know, I think part of it is probably because you need to be to get like the gigs, because the gigs
Right.
aren't as guaranteed. Whereas, you know, for Rocket League over the past, like, I don't know how many, well, since the start, you know, like the casters work in the show, work in RLCS, are doing or every other like
Right.
RLCS
Right.
event.
Right.
Now that it's EU, NA, you know, split on different days, not like it used to be on the same weekend. EU would be one day, NA would be the other on the same weekend, so everybody would just work both. But I think that's probably the major contributing factor, is just Rocket League has
Mm-hmm.
had one circuit that's all run by the developer, and the casters are all like extremely consistent, so they just
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, well, we are a team, so we can try to grow this product together. We can try and do a good job as a team. Whereas if, you know, there are two different production companies who both have their favorites, and then there's maybe half of the roster confirmed for talent and the other half is up for grabs, there's going to definitely be a very competitive
Mm-hmm.
environment to try and get yourself on a grand final, get yourself on a hype matchup, so you can make the call in the inevitable big play that's going to happen, and
Mm-hmm.
get played on all the B-roll for the rest of the year. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably mostly due to that. But secondly, I would say there is an element of it just being a lucky group of people, because if we're being honest with ourselves, casting a video game, like being the voice over like the over the play, it has to be something that attracts like people who like themselves and who want to be the star, you know?
Right. There's a
And
little bit of
I
ego involved.
yeah, there has to be. I mean, it has to just attract that kind of people.
Yeah.
So if we acknowledge that that is a type of personality that will be interested in casting, you know, people who are obviously fans of esports in some way, or you know, want to be involved, probably is another aspect. But yeah, definitely be the star of the show in some
Mm-hmm.
manner. Then you're probably going to get a lot of people who are hard to work with, because people who want to be the star don't want anyone else to be the star.
Yeah.
They want to be the one everybody's talking
Mm-hmm.
about. They want to be the one everybody's hyping up, and they probably won't want to see someone else get gassed up, because if that's happening, then it's
It's
not
not them.
them.
Yeah.
Whereas in Rocket League, that doesn't really happen. And I can genuinely say, you know, I as someone who has probably had too much praise over the years, mostly due to my social media popularity, I don't envy anyone else having success in casting, and I haven't, for years, many years now, because I this isn't just me. I think it's like something the whole team is kind of whole RLCS casting team is kind of agreed on. It's not, no one's got any hard feelings for someone else getting a grand final, for someone
Right.
else
Yeah.
getting a hype match, for someone else being praised. In fact, like we're sharing notes a lot of the time. We're trying to give each other updates live in the cast
Uh-huh.
of something that might be really interesting to tell the viewers right now. Whereas if it was more competitive, people would just be
They
saving
would
that for
hold it for
themselves. They'd
themselves.
say it
Yeah.
on the next segment when they're actually on to be the one
Right.
saying the amazing information, you know, that
Yep.
they think is so special. Yeah, a bit of both. I think it's partly due to the way Rocket League runs, partly due to the we just got lucky that there are no massive. There are egos, but no massive egos
Yeah.
that are just
That's why I'm
impossible to
glad I
work
don't have
with.
to work with Gibbs anymore on
Yeah,
EU shit.
ridiculous.
It's too much to handle sometimes. Okay, well, on esports, you're actually one of the ones I really wanted to ask this question, because I feel like you give this a lot of thought. Speaking of Gibbs, you guys talk on like formats a lot. Like this seems to be something, making something work seems to be. I mean, you said you got a bit of engineering back, so it's like making stuff work is the thing. Esports, we're going the wide spectrum of esports right now. So many people are trying different things, right? Like we've seen franchising with like Overwatch League and Call of Duty. We've seen third parties doing circuits like CS:GO and Dota. We've seen first party again, like a lot of the games now, like Rocket League and that. It's an open circuit, qualifiers and that. And then we also seen league play. It still seems like people are trying to figure out what esports needs to be its own sustainable thing. Is there any direction that you've given thought that you think might be an answer, or at least a better answer than what we've tried so far?
So the way I view, like, I don't think there is a perfect format, and the reason for that is because I don't view esports as a sport. I view it more as content from a content creator angle. I think that successful esport decisions are probably more in line with like similar content decisions than they are building a successful sport. And what I mean by that is if you just copy pasted every decision that a sport made and tried to replicate it in Rocket League, I think Rocket League would just become very stale, very repetitive. Because most of these sports are, if you think about it, quite stale and quite repetitive. But the reason that works is because they are so ingrained in the culture, so ingrained in people's minds from a young age that it doesn't matter that they're watching the same like format every season. That is just what they expect. That's what they want. Right. But for Rocket League, it's more of a content kind of thing. It's if you copy paste like just like the format every single season, I think the viewership will decline unless there's other external factors influencing viewership, like maybe a massive boost of player base, for example, that would obviously push the viewers up. But if there are no other things that change as well, and you just keep on like pumping out the exact same product, people aren't going to watch it because eventually they're going to be like, I've already seen this. Yeah, there's only so many times I can watch this exact same production, exact same tournament before I feel like I've seen it before I feel like I've seen it all. And then you'll go and move on to another esport, another game, which is adapting, changing. So I think the solution is to just have intelligent adaptations, because I think the biggest change that we ever had in Rocket League was RLCS Season X. It was the biggest change from League play, which before it was just 9 seasons, all half a year each of League play into regional playoffs into Worlds. That was it. And it was a very short season actually, but when it got to Season X, everything changed. There was new regions, there was actually, I don't think there was a new region for Season X. I think that was 21, 22. But yeah, Season X, there was like, open format. There's the grid, what's going on, lots of things changing. People are so excited because people love new things. And even if some of those things weren't actually very good ideas and got reversed or got removed for the next season, at the time, people were like, this is great because effort is being made. This is new. Let me check out the new format.
It's like what Fortnite does, right? They completely break their game with like massive season updates, but then they'll go back or then they'll change it later. But it keeps people talking about it.
Yeah, and it's a way to experiment with things. Like RLCS Season X was an experimental season, first open era season of RLCS. It was obviously hindered by COVID because there were no LANs, which will make it pretty hard to imagine how hype would that season really have been. It's impossible to know because LANs didn't happen. The next season, 21-22, okay, now we see there were changes made again. A lot of changes from RLCS Season X, new regions, grid was removed. A lot of there was just less RLCS on because they realized this is too much. Took it down a little bit, got LANs back, obviously is a big deal. So I think that the fact it's not that one format was necessarily better than the other. It's just that change is good, and you're given a lot more freedom to make changes if you're not constrained by something like a league. A league is very, very structured, very much, okay, we're just doing the same thing all season if you have a league. So I tend to stray away from leagues, not because I don't think it's a good way and a fair way to compete. It's just it's too repetitive, I think, to work as well as an open format.
Well, I'm curious because just I do look at I try to find, I guess, the route of traditional sports in, why they continue to succeed. I think obviously the biggest point is that no one owns football, no one owns hockey, right? Like it's just anyone can make a league for it, really, and then it's if that league is put together, and then it becomes a self-sustainable thing. You only run those leagues if you can. There's money being brought into it, right? Like no one's going to be running Premier League at a loss, right? Like that's just not going to be happening. So I'm curious if it would be worthwhile for devs to maybe license the game out, but like not run the esports themselves and have it be third party. I mean, Valve does that in a way, and look at their esports. Their esports are fantastic, and those third party companies only run them because they make money off those events. Like, I wonder if that's something that just needs to happen for esports in general to be a self-sustainable thing rather than being an extension of a marketing budget.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think that it's for me, it's like, yeah, it can work, but it's not I think a necessity. I think it's perfectly possible for a dev to run a very successul esport, just like it's very possible for third parties to run a very successful esport. I don't think that's, for me, the solution. And the reason is, yeah, because both like a third party or a dev would be able to do exactly what I was saying before, and that is, come up with new like ideas, new adaptations every year or season, whatever kind of format you have. And that's, I think, what really keeps the viewers interested. And nobody wants to play and nobody wants to watch a game if nothing is being updated. People always say this, like, oh, come on. Whereas like content creators in Rocket League sometimes complain about, there's been no new content for them to make videos about. And in the same way, you're going to get viewers complaining like, oh man, this is like, Regional 99 now of the same exact show. Like, why would people watch that? You have to innovate, and you're going to get innovations within a show that fits like the same structure. For example, like, a pre-show will be very different. One pre-show could be very different from another. Yeah. But if you just copy pasted them all, nobody would watch. It would be boring.
I suppose what's the difference between that and like in football then? I mean, when's the last time the rules in football have changed?
Well, see, football is just bigger than this. That's why I don't really look at esports as a sport, is because football is it is a thing. I've never known football not to exist. It's been around for hundreds of years. So well, at least over 100 years. Yeah. So it just is a thing, and everybody plays it. Everybody knows what it is. Half the world watches the World Cup every 4 years when it's on. It is just bigger, much, much bigger. It's a different beast. I don't think we should be like comparing or taking advice like from football. It's too big. It's a different beast entirely.
Do you think things like Fortnite and Rocket League could get to that point with the fact that they have branded toys that kids see in the store that they play with? I mean, I've got some right there. I've got some, there's physical cars that a kid could play with and know the brand Rocket League. Do you think it'll ever to the point where not just those two, but specifically, but do you think it could get to the point where the brand's been in their life long enough that it just kind of gets to that point where it's like a football for them?
No, I don't think Rocket League has ever got a chance of reaching that, but that's like more of a global, poverty issue than like anything else. Like football's very cheap. You just get a ball and you kick it around.
Not to the same level of Rocket League, but you know what?
That's why I say it's never going to reach that level, because football's so simple at its core that it will always be just far easier to get a ball together and kick it about than it is to set up internet infrastructure, get like the PCs, Rocket League. But even at Rocket League, that is actually one of the advantages of the game. It's very simple. It's an easy game to watch, easy game to understand. So there's definitely a lot of potential there within the internet like space. But that's just, again, sticking to esports constraints, which are obviously there right now. And the like sports they're just, I think they're completely different for me. I mean, there are similarities. Rocket League's obviously got a ball in it. It's got cars in it, and it's got a lot of similarities to how hockey's played. But apart from the similarities, I think they're so different that I never look at a sport and think, oh, this is how I should run my tournament. Oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should establish like a league that can run for 50 years. No, this is not what I'm thinking. I'm taking ideas from it from a content standpoint, like thinking, oh, what content was good? Was this way of presenting highlights? Was this way of doing seeding or something? Was that interesting to watch? It's all about what do I think is interesting to watch when I'm organizing a tournament. Never about like, how do I create the esport version of football? It's just like too far fetched to even.
Well, the only reason I ask is because I feel like that's almost happened for me, specifically with CS, because for me, it's ever since the early 2000s. Like most of my life paying attention to esports, it started kind of with Halo in that like mid 2000s, just kind of watching it on TV. But Counter-Strike was always, for most of my life, has been there. And I'll watch majors, I'll watch finals and stuff, because even though I don't keep up with the rest of it, it's like this is something that it's like, I guess, I mean, like your dad watching football, and so you maybe will watch a finals here and there, and CS feels like it's kind of done that, what I was talking about, where it's
definitely it's getting closer to that. Esports is getting closer and closer to that point, and CS is at that point where somebody can have watched CS their entire life. Now they're a pro in the game. It's possible. Rocket League pros right now, some of them are just turning 15, 16 at the moment. Would have been 6 or 7, potentially. No, would have been 7 or 8. Sorry, about 8, 7 or 8. I think is the youngest 7 if you're 15 now. So there's a little bit of life before 7 that you could probably remember vaguely. But for most of their life, Rocket League will have existed if their parents put it in front of them and their friends were playing it at school, that kind of thing. But it's got competition from so many other games, and it's not as integrated with education. It's not as integrated with with like local communities as football is or soccer or whatever the equivalent popular sport is. Like until every school has a Rocket League team, they all compete, and every like town has a Rocket League team, and every like city has a Rocket League team. It's just not going to be anywhere close to the same amount of like cultural integration to really make people care about who the best team in the world is. Right now, people only care about who the best team in the world is if they're playing a little bit of Rocket League on the side, if maybe they invested a lot of time in Rocket League in the past, or they just like watching an esport that's, polished, consistent, and easy to understand. Like, you don't have to play Rocket League to watch RLCS. You don't have to even play video games to watch and understand RLCS. But, it's got a lot of competition. So I think the way to try and get viewers and try and get people to both keep watching and get hooked in the first place is, it's all content, in my opinion. And trying to make it like the most addictive content possible.
I'm going to open up a chain of, parents can get, sign their kids up for karate lessons. They can sign up for swimming lessons, and they can sign up for playing, baseball or hockey at their local arena. I'm going to set up arenas where they can sign their kids up to play Rocket League.
It's not a terrible idea. I think it's a good idea. I think that would be actually a really good thing to have and to, bring people together. But yeah, I don't think that's so far away. At least the relevancy of that is so far away from having an impact that it's like, for me, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. Like when Rocket League's so big that it's just part of the culture, then okay, great. Like we'll see how that actually works. Maybe one day it's possible.
I just like thinking about how to make that happen, because obviously with something like that, you have to think decades down the road, right? Like you can't.
Doing like little things like that could help in a small community or help in a school, for example. But I think if the goal, if the dev or RL Esports, Psyonix want to make Rocket League just a thing that everybody knows about and make RLCS a thing that everybody watches, because if they want people to play their game and to care about who the best player is, that's the essence of it. Then I think it's about constantly changing, constantly adapting. Like I said, it's not about trying to fund every school in the country to have a team. That would be, I think, like just way too soon for that to be a worthwhile investment. Far better, I think, to there's just so many ways I think to adapt RLCS that would be easy to execute, and immediately completely change the esport. Like the most obvious one for me is having other game modes apart from 3v3 in RLCS. It's like a no-brainer because these game modes are so popular. 2v2 is the most played game mode in the game, not 3v3. In the actual game, people play 2v2 a lot more than 3s. And 1v1 is proven to be a very different and a very alive, competitive community for years now, with hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of people watching two players play on a YouTube video. Tens of thousands watching, a 1v1 on Twitch with very, very little support compared to RLCS. Although there has been lots of support, nowhere near the kind of investment that RLCS 3v3 has had.
Right.
So that would be, I think, the next step. If Rocket League really wanted to, if RLCS really wanted to grow to the next level, would be to have, the perfect, easiest variety integration ever of just having a 2v2 and a 1v1 circuit running alongside the 3v3 circuit. Then every time there's a LAN event, now you got three disciplines. Maybe players are playing in two. Maybe some player like Zen is playing in all three. Maybe he wants to be the triple champ. Like that is so much more memorable than just winning a threes event. Imagine when somebody could win all three.
That would
be pretty cool. But right now we have to imagine because it's not possible.
That's
like,
true.
Think about it. If that was possible, like even as an idea, as a concept, it just sounds so amazing to watch. But the great thing is, you could actually run a 2s and a 1s RLCS circuit for pretty much the same cost as a 3 circuit because it's less players. So if they double the investment and just like put it into 2s and 1s, now you would have 3 massive esports within one esport. And it wouldn't even have to be big to begin with. You make a 1s tournament with a much smaller prize pool, people are still going to play. Like there's a lot of pros who would give it a go. A lot of like 1s mains who give it a go. Same thing for 2s. There's sweaty ranked warriors. So that for me is like the obvious like thing to do. And yeah, I feel like I'm allowed to say that because surely that would take away from my content. Because right now I run 1v1 stuff, and if there's an RLCS 1v1, well, who's going to care about my content if I'm just like some guy doing one show matches? Who cares? But even me, who might actually suffer, the content might suffer because of it. I want to see that happen because I think it would just be good for the esport and good for the game.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of circles around to what you said, just about, people, will share their notes or this, because it's the general, I guess, philosophy is that we all just want to see a good show, right? Like we want the show to be a good thing, like the weightlifting thing over the past weekend. Yeah. I ran into the room, grabbed the weights, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this when we come back from break because it'll be funny. Then I'm like, no, it'll be funny if we all do it when we do predictions. And then everyone got on board, and that was way funnier than if I had just done it myself.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. Whereas, if you did do it yourself, like I'm sure there's some esports talent out there somewhere in some esport who would have thought, oh, I'm going to be so funny when everybody else does their predictions, and then it comes to me and I'm doing bicep curls for Hogan mode prediction. Everybody's going to be laughing at me and think that I'm the best. Whereas, it doesn't really work like that. It's like you said, it's just better if it's
when we all
a team thing. Everybody's doing it.
Built on the hype,
Yeah, it's just overall funnier. Even if you yourself are getting less recognition for it, it's better for the show as a whole. So that was props. That was hilarious. I loved all the Hogan mode memes. Hope we get them next season. If they disband, I'm going to be so sad. We need them next season.
It's so hard because in off seasons you never know what's going to happen, right? So it's it's like I really wished there was one more regional, or at least just a regional, but another split for them to have played in, because they genuinely were playing good. Like they were catching people off guard. Yeah, I agree. I would have liked to see more of that. I'm curious about casting for you then. What are some core principles that you use? Because like we just talked about, the core principle of all of us as a group is make the show good. But for you, for casting, like what's a core, I guess, this is why I'm casting, or this is what casting should be?
Why? Well, actually, to go way back to the start, why am I casting is because I was friends with Scrubkilla and Marky Duda, who are both Scottish, former world champions now, of course. Scrubkilla more recently, still playing for Brogan Broad. But yeah, they were 1v1ing one time. They were doing a practice 1v1, and I asked if I could stream it because I was streaming at the time. I think I was playing twos with Scrub. He used to want to play twos ranked with me on stream to show off how good he is and how much he could carry me, because he was too young to stream. He was 12, and he's like, watch me carry this idiot with zero mechanics. Marky was a bit of a coincidence because he also streamed Rocket League. Very, very good player, probably the best in the world at some point. And we found out just from interacting on Twitch that we lived 2-minute walk away from each other in the same city, which is pretty ridiculous. So we were good friends. They were 1v1ing. I asked if I could stream it, and then the chat were all saying you should cast it, and I was like, I can't really cast it because I'd watched Rocket League casts at the time, and all the casts were very much about play-by-play, hype. It's just every moment is the most exciting moment ever, and I said I can't really do that. It wouldn't be authentic if I did that at all, because that's not me. And they were like, all right, just do it. Just talk about the game then. Just do what you want to do. So I just talked about the game, more of like a boring, analytical, color style. And people liked it because it wasn't really something that was done at the time in Rocket League. I think there was a void for that, and they wanted to see more of it. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll do it again. Cast another one show match, another one, and one thing led to another. And now the YouTube's blowing up and Twitch is getting really popular. People want to just keep seeing more of this. They want to see me do events. So I didn't really have to. I wasn't somebody who was like, I want to be a caster. I'm grinding all these events. It kind of just happened because there was a lack of something that people thought I would be good at, because they'd heard me talking about, or they heard me maybe talking about Rocket League with Scrub and Marky in the beginning on my stream, and they thought, this guy knows his stuff because I'm talking to the right people, learning from the right people. I think it just made sense. My personality matched it pretty well. It was very, I think it comes naturally to me to just be brutally honest about how bad a play was.
So that's your core principle, is to ream people out for terrible play.
Well, maybe not to be negative about play. In fact, definitely not that.
Yeah,
like I've learned that's not in fact a good thing in casting. It can be funny sometimes to act annoyed by how bad a play is, but that gets old very fast, and you're actually just going to make the viewers less interested. I think if you like, a lot of casters make this mistake. I feel where they act like they're premier caster. They're like, I only cast good play. That was a bad play, so I don't even want to be here. It's like, come on, like if you don't want to be here, why would the viewers want to be here either? Like you have to at least be interested and find some kind of angle where that's either funny that something bad happened, or point or maybe a learning moment from the mistake. Like I think there has to be a desire to actually watch the game. If you're not interested in watching the game, the viewers aren't going to be interested.
Right. Yeah.
And being genuine is probably the big takeaway from the early days, where I was just being myself.
Yeah.
Being very genuine, and people liked it because it wasn't fake hype, as a lot of early casting was criticized to be.
Right. Have you adapted your style a little bit? Like, have you adopted any more? I mean, I've heard you, so I can listen to your cast now. But like, for you, have you leaned in and said, okay, maybe a little more hype play-by-play is okay here and there? Is it like what changes has your casting gone through in your eyes over the years?
Well, yeah. So like I said, the analytical side of casting came very naturally to me. That's kind of who I was. But actually hyping up a game did not come naturally at all, because I was just more of a shy person with that aspect of my personality. So I had to really learn how to, be comfortable doing that, and how to do that without just sounding like this isn't him. What does he do? This isn't Johnny. What is Johnny doing? So I just kind of just slowly tried to open up that can, I suppose, over the years. And probably the biggest thing that helped with that was casting Gfinity Elite Series ages ago. All the UK casters, we always talk about this, because we casted Gfinity Elite Series for 2 years in person. There's a lot of in-person casting with me, Shogun, Cole, Stumpy, Gregan, and a guy called Onset, also Damascus from the Street Fighter community.
I love Damascus. He's amazing.
Yeah, they were awesome. So it's a very similar vibe to the current RLCS team, just a team atmosphere, everybody propping each other up, like workshopping how to improve. And we didn't really have any higher-ups at the production team or at the event who were telling us how to cast.
Gotcha.
So we were kind of left on our own to figure out the best way to do it. That was really helpful, because we didn't have the constraints that I know were present in RLCS at the time, where there was a lot more direction being given about how casting should sound, what the company wanted, the production company and Psionics, I think, wanted the casting to sound like.
In the day,
it was very limited in comparison, and that I think it kind of stunted the progression for a while, whereas we were a lot more free to just figure out what is actually the best way to cast this video game, because that's at the end of the day what you got to do. I guess the biggest thing we realized is that roles like a play-by-play caster and a color caster are very difficult to make work in Rocket League, at least as strictly as other esports or sports, because you don't know when something crazy is going to happen. Like, it's such a fast-paced game. The ball can pinch into the net from anywhere. And if the color caster has just started talking and then something happens, it's very jarring for the play-by-play to be like, oh, wait a minute, let me tell everybody there was a pinch. Okay, what were you saying? It's like, why are you interrupting for that? Just let the reaction happen, and then you can maybe switch roles for a second. The color caster can do that themselves, like hype up the moment, and then the play-by-play can come in with a bit of color backing up the energy of what the color caster just said or did. It's a lot more about synergy, and I think knowing about what are the moments in a game that deserve to be hyped, and what are the moments in a game that deserve to just be throw a play-by-play out the window and talk about something else entirely, either something funny that happened, or something more analytical, or maybe a storyline that's really relevant because of something that's just happened. But yeah, in hype moments, potential goal is happening, better not be here in any color. It better be all play-by-play, like two casters bouncing off each other. I know that's not something everybody agrees to. Some casters, a lot of esports outside of Rocket League as well, they'd rather have the play-by-play just go like rap god mode and just talk for a minute in supersonic speed, and then after the hype finally is over, then the other guys can come in. But I prefer to just roll swap. It's mostly me and Shogun.
If you can get
switching back and forth all the time.
Like in the TriCast, this was very apparent, is like, if you can get a really good dynamic of like this caster saying, and he's there for the shot, and the other guy comes in and says like, oh, and he takes it and he scores, like that immediate bounce off is so, if you can get that down, it sounds so good when you have two people in the it's like they've just done a fusion dance and they're in that moment together. I agree. That sounds so much better.
Yeah, and it doesn't come naturally for like we talked about way at the start about how a lot of esports is more competitive about who gets to cast a final, who gets to cast the really exciting match that everybody wants to cast. And in those moments where the play is happening that okay, this is on every highlight reel, or maybe the play is about to happen that's going to be on every highlight reel, it's always a selfish thought, I'm sure, for people to be like trying to hold on to the microphone and be like, no, me, I'm going to talk, let me talk, 'cause I'm going to hype this up. My voice will be in all the B-roll, and then I can secure all of the contracts for the rest of the season for all the tournaments. Thank you very much. You can't really blame people for thinking like that, but yeah, in Rocket League we haven't had to think like that, and it's allowed us to be a lot more, I think, hot potato with the microphone. I know there's a hype moment coming up. I'm like, that's fine. I'm just gonna stop talking. Shogun can come in, and he does the same thing. Like sometimes he'll stop talking with like 3 or 2 seconds left in the game as it's approaching a probable 0-second play. He'll notice, okay, this doesn't look like it's going to hit the ground anytime soon. I'm just going to like throw to Johnny, and then maybe it's in 0 seconds I throw back. I'm like, no, you, and it's a much more exciting dynamic than just having one person keep going and keep going. They're running out of breath, but they keep going, and they want to just make it to the end of this hype play so that they can have their moment, or so they can finally throw to the color. I think Rocket League, you have to be, like, my casting philosophy these days, you have to be adaptable, because you never know when the goal is coming. You never know when it's going to be a 10-minute OT. There's such a range of like energy that might be required. So you don't want to just stick strictly to roles, or else it can get very repetitive and limit the hype that you can generate. Same way, actually, that you can limit the hype or a similar way you can limit the hype, I feel, is by trying to make every moment sound like the best goal. This is, I think, a problem every caster has when they get started. They always want every goal that they cast to be amazing, and it's like, well, not every goal is amazing. If all your goals, if every goal you cast sounds amazing, probably none of them sound amazing, because there's no range. There needs to be a range. There has to be like a more quiet, tense moment in a series or even a game for the really, really fast-paced, exciting moment to be fast-paced and exciting. If it's just more of the same pace, you've been talking million words a minute, the entire cast, it's not going to have the same impact. So it's about variety, it's about synergy, it's about
it's also
being ready for anything.
If you're casting something genuinely, again, just like if a crazy goal happens that you didn't expect, you're gonna hear that excitement, because you as a casting, like, what happened, like that I mean, it happened to Subi the other day, with I think it was the Zen goal when he was upfield, right? And Subi's like, he's up there. Like, that was a genuine, real moment. You don't plan that. You don't say, hey, every goal is amazing. Because if you do that, it's that moment of excitement doesn't sound genuine anymore.
Yeah, that's actually a good example of, like, so I said back in the start when we were learning, like, the EU contingent in Gfinity, we were like doing this hybrid thing for a long time, and it took longer for NA casters to do this, because not because they didn't want to, but because they were being told not to, as far as I'm aware. But everybody's kind of doing it now, and Subi, is a very NA caster. Like, sounds like there's a range of American accents, but he's to me, as a European, super American sounding.
Well, he's got the West Coast accent, which is like the default accent.
Right? So but that's, I think it was Corelli on the cast with him, and they were both interjecting their comments to hype up that Zen goal, and it was, like you said, very genuine. It was a genuine reaction. It wasn't forced. It was genuine hype, and they also weren't trying. Sometimes I've heard some really embarrassing like B-roll where both casters clearly want to be the team to say the champion is this, and they're fighting for the mic, trying to one up each other, trying to be the guy who's talking when something cool happens. That wasn't really the vibe at all. They were both just just enjoying the moment, and trying to quickly interject their reaction, and then let the other guy keep talking. So yeah, that was perfect call for me. I really like that. When I listen back to it, I don't usually listen to much of the casting live, because we're usually talking. All the casters who aren't casting are usually, if you are working the show, you're usually talking in the green room, or it might be view partying other days. But yeah, that one I remember I watched back, I was like, oh, that was sick. That was like such a like genuine shock. It just sounded awesome to hear.
It's a goal we hadn't seen. It's not often anymore that you see something in Rocket League that you haven't seen before. So when you see it, you're like, oh my God. So it was good for them just to let that excitement out. But you're right when you're saying about just like, yeah, as we had handcuffs kind of early on in the season. Originally, believe it or not, before RLCS, Lawler and my style turned kind of more into a hybrid because just being online, it was just it was also just easier to, if someone's doing analysis, to just go into play-by-play if it happens, or just quickly say the moment that's happening, right? But then when we came to RLCS, it was, and I think JohnnyBoi was right to do this. He said, let's get everyone in a position for now, because we're all new, right? So let's just give roles. Let's do play-by-play. Let's do color, and work from there. And I think the problem was that we did those roles. We all got our, here's a play-by-play, here's a color, and then because there wasn't much room for experimentation early on, we're still figuring everything out. That became the norm and what was expected. And then it became very hard to get out of that because you also saw new casters coming up replicating that style. And it kind of reinforced itself. So now we're in this era of casting, in the RLCS, trying to move away from that when it's expected to be a certain way.
Yeah, that was I think, like you said, good for the time because it made Rocket League RLCS when nobody really knew what it was. It sounded very official, it sounded very professional. Yeah, which was good at the time. People were like, "Oh, I wonder." I remember when RLCS was being announced or had been announced, and the online bit had which was about to kick off. I remember watching the first show, and I was thinking, wonder if it's going to be scuffed. I wonder if it's going to just be rubbish, or wonder if it's going to be good. And it came out actually really clean, very professional. I was like, well, that's really promising. If it sounds like that, then that's a good sign for the future of the esport. But yeah, that obviously had to change long term, and we realized that this is not. Right. You don't know, like, it's so easy to do that in other games or even sports where okay, literally nothing can happen right now in this game that would require their height to be hype play-by-play. That the earliest moment that anything actually can happen is in 2 minutes. So let's just talk casual, analysis. And then, here come two armies or two characters very slowly towards each other. Maybe something's about to happen. Play-by-play, get ready. It's very obvious, so you can plan ahead. Rocket League, you can't plan ahead. It's like anything could happen at any moment. It's way too fast-paced, so it just doesn't make sense to have rigid roles anymore, especially it's even way faster now than it was back then, so even more true these days to just have everybody. There are still, casters. Every caster pairing will usually have one person who leans more towards the color casting, one person who specializes more in play-by-play, but both have to be. You have to be able to do a little bit of both because sometimes a goal will just happen. For me, I think the most obvious one was Ahmad's goal at the Fall Major. Like, I remember Shogun threw to me at the end of the game, and I was expecting an overtime, so I was getting ready to just call overtime and then Shogun to come back in. But then obviously a 0-second goal happens out of absolutely nowhere, so I just have to yell Ahmad's name, and then Shogun came in with the follow-up, which would usually be the color caster, who's the second voice to speak after something like that. But it's Shogun, the play-by-play, dropping a really good big picture follow-up to what I said, which was I just yelled his name. I can't remember what else I said. Something hype, I suppose. And then Shogun had a much bigger picture comment in the exact same energy. I think that really just cemented it, sealed it as a very memorable moment for a lot of people. Obviously, the goal helped with that. But Shogun really nailed that, and it was a good example of it's not just about color casters knowing how to hype moments when the time comes up, but also the play-by-play caster being able to follow up with the right words in a more analytical color caster vibe. Because if a play-by-play just comes in with more play-by-play, what are they play-by-playing? The replay? We already seen that. Nobody needs to have you tell them what happened again. It's much better to do the other thing, which is give some context. Do something a little bit different. I think Shogun's very good at that. A lot of the play-by-play casters these days are very good at that as well, even mid-game.
You get to cast another esport. What esport are you doing?
I don't know. I feel like I would be too stupid to cast any other esport and really do it justice.
Right. That's why I did Rocket League, is because I wanted to. Well, early on, it played like hockey, and I'm like, I played hockey, and this makes sense to me. But before I was in Smash Bros, and I'm like, I feel like I don't like I play it, but I don't think I'm good enough to cast something like this.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to tell people like even some of the games that I do play. I can say confidently though, years ago when I was like maining games like StarCraft 2 or League of Legends, if I had my current casting ability and my then knowledge of the game at the time, so I was high enough rated and watched both of those esports rigorously, yeah, I could have casted if you combine my current casting ability with my then knowledge. But now I don't have a clue what's going on. Like I don't know half of the champions are in League of Legends. I don't know what like any of the builders are in StarCraft 2, so I wouldn't even want to cast, not because I don't like those games anymore, it's because I don't think I could do it justice. Even if they wanted me to, which I'm sure they don't, because there are plenty of amazing casters in both those games. They're probably quite happy without Rocket League casters coming in and taking their jobs.
Right.
Yeah, I would want to like as a color caster, a natural color caster, I would want to at least know what I'm talking about. So.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have to waffle.
What about other roles? Like, what is your favorite role out of all like the talent roles? Is it casting?
Yeah, it would definitely be color casting. 'Cause it's what I've done the most. So I've put thousands and thousands of hours into color casting. I mean, my live stream content is majority color casting anyway, because well, not all of it, but most of it is 1v1, and 1v1 is a lot slower paced than 3v3, where you can actually set up or when something cool is going to happen a little bit ahead of time, a little bit more than threes at least. So yeah, that actually suits itself more to like if I'm solo casting, which I usually am, to just color cast and then hype every now and then when it's required. A good practice for my off rolling, I suppose, play-by-play casting when it does happen. But no, I don't think I would be very good casting other games. I'm just sticking to what I do for now because it's fun. I enjoy it. I like color casting. I like being on like the desk with certain personalities as well, though. It's really fun to clash with like teammates or banter with people like CJ, Bumpy Goblin, because we always have things to disagree on and make jokes about. But yeah, the casting is always going to be it's what I've done the most. So I mean, it's what I'm best at, probably by a mile.
Of doing a series, because I know some casters from CS:GO, from Rainbow Six, and that. And I was wondering if I could do a series where I get casters to cast games they don't cast, and just cross over. So if we get some of you guys trying to cast Rainbow Six, knowing nothing about it, and then
that would actually be. I mean, that would be. I think Shogun would hate that. Like. Just off the top of my head, because he usually hates like any kind of, I mean, not any kind of, but yeah, he's always down for a banter cast. Like I've casted a bunch of like really low level matches with Shogun before, and it's always a blast. I think he would absolutely hate the nonsense that I would come up with when I'm casting a game like that. So it would be pure waffle.
I know.
He'd be like, I cannot believe that he would just hate that he's being forced to listen to that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got to go for the more goofy casters for that to work. Like I can definitely slot into that category, I guess. With
you'd have to have fun with it.
I've just casted like bronze tournaments, silver tournaments. I've casted enough of that. Casted Ludwig versus Atriarch. They were both like solid bronze like level. So I've definitely got the banter casting experience, I suppose. Yeah, CJ is really good at that as well. He's always very funny to listen to casting. Terrible gameplay. So I'm not saying that these games are terrible. I'm saying that us casting it would just go into that category though. If we were casting a game we don't understand, we would be absolutely waffling. We'd be making stuff up. So that's what we do when we cast bad gameplay. We're just making stuff up, trying to find any kind of logic that would explain what's happening in front of you, which is usually just inexplicable levels of bad gameplay.
So I want to ask just a couple quick questions on the way out here. Funnily enough, I'm the one that actually has to go for something else after this. So I want to ask a couple questions on the way out, just fun, non-RL stuff. I asked this last time, and I probably should do this at the beginning to give people time to think about it. I asked this to Garrett, and he couldn't come up with one. Comments did a great job with some great words. What's your favorite word?
Oh. Did we disconnect for a second there?
Oh, what's your favorite word?
Oh, my favorite word. I don't know if I have a favorite word. Don't think I have one.
Okay.
Nothing came to mind. Literally, you said, "What's your favorite word?" No words.
Well, fair enough.
No
You
words
don't
came
have
to
to
mind.
have one.
But I am very proud of like certain phrases came to mind. Like I'm very proud that top bins is a globalized phrase. It's just recognized as top corner shot in Rocket League. So that's not necessarily a word, but I love in Rocket League context top bins. I've always got some. I'll always have love for the phrase "beaned it," which is a Marky Duda classic. So. Yeah, the boomer is obviously a legendary word that's been used to describe and still is used to describe fast shots in pretty much just Rocket League, no other context. So yeah, just silly Rocket League words like that in the context of this is probably that's where my brain went.
It's okay, fair. Yeah, I guess in the context of this, what's the one of your biggest pet peeves? Something that just gets right under your skin.
Pet peeve. I don't even know if it would qualify, but like. I don't like when, and this is obviously going to be very relevant to what I do now, but yeah, I don't like when there are like plans, like maybe, I've arranged to, do something at a certain time, like this podcast, for example, we actually rescheduled it. So if somebody can't show up for something that I've arranged to do with them and they don't tell me, that is probably the thing that would annoy me the most.
Oh, I'm with you on that, yeah.
Because I don't mind so much if somebody says, "Oh, sorry, something." I don't mind at all. Actually, if somebody says something came up, not going to be available. Actually, that's like absolutely fine. Things happen. But when somebody it's the failure to communicate changes of plans is so annoying. I absolutely hate my time being wasted. So that's probably my biggest pet peeve, and it's the same in life as well. I hate waiting. I'd rather be doing something.
Yeah.
Just absolutely hate waiting, even in small things like. If my girlfriend's cooking and she needs help with it, I'd rather be doing something constantly, like chopping the vegetables, washing the dishes, where I can constantly be doing something like that, rather than standing waiting for something to be cooked, or like putting some seasoning in a pan and then letting it settle before seeing if it's enough. I don't like that waiting. I'd rather be active. So yeah, I think there's probably some relation there.
He's just yelling at the seasoning in the pan. Go down!
I'd be like, hurry up! For goodness sake, can you be ready already? I just want to know if it's the right amount. I don't like that. I don't like waiting.
That's awesome. And one final one. Maybe it's this, but what is your one, or not maybe just one, but for you, a big passion? What is like your true passion in this world?
Mm-hmm. True passion. I mean, I would probably say that it is what I do. Overall, working in esports. I've deliberately chosen to work on things that I am passionate about. So casting is something I'm very passionate about, and running show matches, tournaments, that kind of content.
Yeah,
I'm very passionate about that as well. I could have gone down different routes like coaching. Had many offers over the years to do that, but it doesn't really interest me, so I've avoided it. Because I think I would burn out if I did that. I just avoid things that I think would cause me to burn out or become bored with what I do. So yeah, I am very passionate about what I do because I choose the things that I'm passionate about to spend my time on.
Right.
But apart from that, definitely traveling and food. It's a pretty boring generic answers, but yeah, awesome. I like to travel and I like to eat good food.
Yeah,
that would be my next two.
That's awesome. Okay, well, what I have time for one more here. Then it's kind of on the same topic. Because most of us, we're usually driven by goals. That's just how we work as humans. Something that's not been achieved. I mean, you look at it for pro players, it's to win a Worlds, right? Is there a moment in life, or maybe you've already done this, where you can sit back, say, I'm still going to keep doing, but my life is complete. I'm happy now, or I'm in a good spot, and this is doing this rest of my life is great. Is there? Do you think you'll ever have a moment like that?
I think I'm pretty positive in that context. So even just streaming at for the first year that I was streaming, doing very small numbers in YouTube, small numbers on Twitch, I was very, very happy doing that. Okay. And if I could just continue doing that in the context of what it was back then, it was small for compared to now, but back then it was obviously doing very well. I was very happy doing that. So I think genuinely it's not that the only thing that's really changed from now to then is the scale and the regularity and the I guess, professionalism of it all, but the overall idea is very similar. So yeah, I think there's been several moments like when I realized that going, I could support myself from Twitch and YouTube. That was obviously pretty big because that's like the first thing you've got to be able to do is actually pay the bills and put food on the table. But yeah, being able to, I think, just do live events as well was always like really satisfying.
Right.
Like I love doing live events even to this day. It's very much a big motivating factor. Like there are like different avenues I could go down. Now, I mentioned coaching is not really something I want to do. Like I never have really had the desire to do. Like right now, one of the big pulls for a lot of people is to become view party streamers. Like a lot of people just want to view party. That's it, because it's so lucrative. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, for starters. I do actually view party a lot myself. But, if it was between that and actually working in event casting, I would pick casting, even though like there have been times where I've been offered maybe 4 or even 5 times as much to just view party a stream.
Was it there was a caster, a league, wasn't it, that said I'm not going to do this event?
I don't know the pronunciation. I think it's Cadril. But yeah, sorry if I've got that wrong to all of the fans of him. But yeah, he didn't cast I think mid-season invitational this season because I think it was this year. Yeah, because Watch Party is more lucrative, and I don't even know if he was paid to Watch Party. Probably wasn't. It was just probably simply more lucrative to Watch Party than it was to do the event. But I think a big motivator for me is going to these events, like I said before, meeting people, networking a little bit, and just enjoying hanging out in person.
Right.
And I think if I wasn't to do that and just sitting at home all the time, I would probably burn out very quickly. So there's a lot of money to be made just watch partying and selling basically your viewership. And I could probably, there have been many events where I could have done, or a few, maybe not many, but there have been a few events where I could have done that, but I'd rather cast it because it's a passion. It's something I'm passionate about, and I think I could do a good job doing that. Whereas view partying, am I a good view party streamer? I don't know. Like it's a very difficult thing to quantify. Very difficult to have goals as a view party streamer. What to improve on, what to work on. Probably not as motivating for me, but I do like to do it occasionally.
Fair enough.
On the side, because it is fun. It is fun to do, but not as my only thing.
Fair. All right. Well, Johnny, we've come to the end of the episode. I got to say thank you so much for coming on here. I'm very excited to see you swinging around a Roto Telly handler, whatever it's called.
Hopefully, no. We're not going to get that in any RLCS content anytime soon. That's not going to pass. Not going to pass the safety and regulations. Legal are going to put a hard line no on that. Maybe one day.
That's wonderful. Maybe one day to the future. Let us know if you see that in the comments, and of course suggestions as well. Johnny, again, I just want to say shout out. Thanks for taking the time to hang out and hop on and have a chat.
No, thank you for the invite. Hope all the viewers have been enjoying the Liefx Brody Moore podcast. Hope it's got you need a name for the podcast. I think Brody Moore podcast is fine, but yeah, you got to go for a brand. That's what comments I've got to decide on.
That's what I'm saying. I'm taking suggestions from everybody.
Yeah.
You included comments below, suggestions for the name. Do you like just the Brody Moore podcast? Some people search Liefx podcast, but
the BMP.
The BMP.
Welcome to the BMP, the Brody Moore podcast. Like there you go. Now the people are like, whoa, what's the BMP? Hold on a second here. There might be something I need to listen to.
Oh man, I'm gonna get brand deals.
Let us know what you think about BMP.
That's wonderful. Okay, well, we're going to brainstorm it. Thank you so much for joining again. If you're on Spotify, make sure to hit the follow button. The episodes come out the day before for those 2 subscribers that are subscribed. You'll get those a bit early. On Monday at noon Eastern, you'll get the episode on YouTube. And, of course, it goes live on Spotify on Tuesday at noon Eastern. Thanks for whatever platform you're watching on, for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.